The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh, got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heartthrob in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too feeble and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Podcast coming to you Wednesday, late Wednesday night, April 9th, 2025. Recording is around 11:30 p.m. Don't typically record this late, but got inspired. I was watching a little bit of basketball earlier tonight, and I haven't done a solo pod in a couple of weeks. Let me come on here and talk shop with you guys. How you guys doing, by the way? Yes, this is not a wrestling podcast for one. We've been doing a lot of wrestling pods, of course, the last couple of weeks. Obviously, it's WrestleMania season, so obviously, the priority isn't to be there, right? Around this time of year. April is April's a very, very on a personal level, a very important month for me. I just celebrated my 14th wedding anniversary recently, April 3rd. April 4th is my youngest son just turned 8. April 8th, my oldest son turned 12. So on a personal level, April is a very, very important month for myself. It's a good time of the year, too. Also, the weather's pretty nice. It's not too hot, although it's been really warm the last couple of days. It's the spring. I like the spring here. It's good enough to go to the pool again. You still get a little bit of breeze. It's not really overly hot yet, like it will be during the summer. When summertime comes around, it's going to be terrifying and melting and all this good stuff, or bad stuff, I want to call it. But then April also, too, I believe, is the most underrated time on the sports calendar. Now, you ask any sports fan out there, they're going to say that you ask them, what part of the year you like the most in sports? And they're all going to say September, maybe October, because that's football. That's the start of NFL football. That's the start of college football. You get the baseball season winding down, going to the playoffs. You have all that going on. NBA's around the corner. NHL around the corner. A lot going on. There's a lot of everything at crescendo. And as I always told you, like with the NFL, and you see even with this podcast, like I'm an NBA guy. My favorite league is the NBA. My favorite sport is basketball. But there's a different energy. When football's back in our lives, there's a different energy in the sports world when that stuff is back in our lives. However, April, you have a lot going on here, too, in sports. Okay? You have the conclusion of the college basketball tournament. The Final Four starts in April after winding down the March Madness, okay? You have the start of baseball in April. You got basketball winding down, NHL winding down, the playoffs starting in another week or so. On a personal level, I just mentioned wrestling. WrestleMania is in April as well, too, also, for me. And yes, I know it's sports entertainment, but it's still something, it's still, sports adjacent, want to call that. People are locked into that. So, I love April. I think April it's so underrated. You have the Masters start this weekend. I'm not a golf guy, but I'm actually going to be tuned into the not, obviously, minute by minute and all that. And I mean, probably hour by hour, but I'll be paying attention to the Masters this weekend. I want to see what's going on. I might place a bet or two on some of these guys to win. Why not? So I think April's such a fascinating time in the sports calendar because we don't always assume. We assume that when football's over, that things wind down. But no, I think there's a lot going on in April. Oh, I missed one thing. The NFL draft is in April, late April, of course. That's in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from tomorrow, or tonight when you get this podcast. Excuse me. So I love April. I think April's. I say September, October, my favorite time of year because of the football stuff and because basketball's returning at that point. But April is so much fun, man. I love the calendar in April. All right. So, by the way, the podcast, you can, of course, on the audio side, on any podcast catcher, such as Spotify, such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, you name it. On the video side, on YouTube, I've been telling you guys already know this right now. We do it, Earnestly Podcast. We do have our own YouTube channel, Earnestly Podcast YouTube channel. Right when I started hit record on this episode, we had 399 followers. So if you listen to this podcast, you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please become the 400th subscriber. I appreciate you guys. Spread the word. We're looking to grow this thing. We're doing a very good job with that. With a lot of clips of the shows. You guys have seen also too. We merge all my podcasts I do. Which is the Wrestling Retro podcast. We just recently started the Falls Count Anywhere podcast. It was a weekly wrestling show. Of course, the Basketball Retro podcast will be coming up very soon. And other stuff down the pike, all into one. Won't be merged with the Earnestly podcast. It'll be on the same feed on the YouTube channel as well as on the audio side as well too. Also, initially I had those shows separated, but I decided to bring them all into one feed. So one size fits all. You can find everything in one spot, and people like it. People have said to me that they prefer that way. It's a lot easier to find the content than having to subscribe to 2 or 3 or 4 different channels. I do keep it in one feed and keep moving. So, let's go. What I want to talk about here tonight. I don't want to go too long, but I know I say that and then I end up going 30 something minutes. I'm like, oh fuck, I didn't mean to do that. But there's still the big story in the NFL right now. Obviously, the NFL draft is the big story now. I mean, going in a couple weeks, but that's the obvious thing. But the other story outside the NFL draft that I'm following is the Aaron Rodgers story. And right now, we're in April 9th, going to be April 10th, about 25 minutes. And as of right now, he is still without a team. He hasn't decided whether or not to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It looks like the Steelers is the only team right now vying for the services right now. They're still waiting for the call on that one, or he retires. And I gotta tell you, look, I love Aaron Rodgers. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. To me, he's probably a top 5 quarterback all time. Even with all the playoff failures, we kind of forget that he actually won a Super Bowl back in 2010. We kind of forget that, and I understand why it's been so long. And then we add the fact that he's kind of made done this little heel turn the last couple of years, and he's not very well liked and all this stuff. But can this dude really, can this guy figure the fuck out what he wants to do? If I'm the Steelers, I don't know why I'm waiting on this dude. Let's go ahead and call his bluff. Move on. Go and draft a quarterback. Trade up for Jackson Dart, someone maybe in the draft. Stop waiting for this dude. Because, I mean, one thing if you're waiting for this guy in his prime, say it was 2-3 years ago. I get it. He's worth the wait. He's that damn good. But you're waiting for a guy that, even though he had I don't know, the numbers say otherwise, he ain't the same dude. Why are you wasting your time waiting for this guy? I don't understand that. Like, call your bluff. Say, nah, we're good, man. Why spend $30 million on this guy that's going to make us wait? It's going to be a headache in the locker room and all that. Why bother? So, if I'm the Steelers, I call his bluff. Like, I'm so uninterested with this Aaron Rodgers story, man. I really am. Like, bro, if you want to be a Steeler, become a Steeler. Okay? You want to retire. Please, but for the love of God, stop holding us up, man. Make a damn decision, move on, please. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. So you go or retire. Just retire, dude. If you don't want to play anymore, don't play anymore, But one guy that retired last week, Julio Jones, retired from after 13 years in the NFL, wide receiver. Phenomenal player, of course. Went to Alabama. Loved him watching Alabama. This was a guy at one point for a good 2-3 year stretch, maybe a little bit longer than that, was considered the best, if not a top 3 receiver in football. All right, this guy I believe is like top. I think it's like 60th in receiving yards or some of that. And he's like, he's 6 touchdowns for his career. This dude. Actually, don't even quote me on those yards. I'm not even sure if that's true or not, because I actually did a podcast this morning and I don't remember if that's actually correct. But he's definitely one of the better players in terms of numbers, stat wise, all time receiving yards and receiving yards per catch, and and 6 touchdowns and 5-time Pro Bowler and all this stuff. So the question comes up now with Julio Jones is this dude a Hall of Famer? This has been a conversation, around, obviously on social media and this and that. And I'm surprised it's even a conversation. To me, it's automatic. Yes, is he a Hall of Famer? Yes, he's a Hall of Famer. I don't have a problem with that. I think the real question is this dude a first ballot Hall of Famer? Because to me, and I'm not saying it's easy to get in the Hall of Fame, especially in football, because everybody gets in. But to me, when you talk about first ballot guys, those are special guys. First ballot guys are like Tom Brady, special. Peyton Manning, special. Jerry Rice, special. Lawrence Taylor, special. Julio Jones had special moments. But is he a first ballot guy? He's probably not going to get as a first ballot, number one. And number two, if I got to think about it more than 3 seconds, he's probably not. Is he a Hall of Famer overall? Yes. Will he get in Hall of Fame? Most likely. Okay. And I think the problem with Julio Jones, too, also is that he also played a position where there's a massive logjam right now. There's a big logjam at that position to get in the Hall of Fame. Think about a guy like Art Monk, for example. Art Monk is one of the greatest receivers of all time. I think at one point he was all time in receptions. I think at one point in his career before, obviously, last 15, 20 years has changed that. But Art Monk was one of the posse with the Washington Redskins team. But this dude was phenomenal. Like we always talk about Jerry Rice and Michael Irvin in that era and all these top guys, but Art Monk was one of those guys in that era. Was very reliable, phenomenal player. But that dude took years to get in the Hall of Fame as well, too. And so you have guys right now who are just now getting in at that position now. You still have guys like Reggie Wayne, guys like Steve Smith, guys like Torrey Holt, guys who we thought were probably surefire Hall of Famers and should have gotten in by now. The guys who've been retired for at least 5-10 years now, on average. And we're now in 2025. Those guys are still waiting for that call for the gold jacket. So if those guys don't get in, then how the hell is Julio Jones, who, again, great player, how is he going to cut the line? I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening, at least early on. I honestly see Julio Jones getting probably on the third or fourth try, if anything. But first ballot, nah, ain't happening. I don't see it happening. But I told one guy who will be getting Hall of Fame, will be in hockey, though. Alexander Ovechkin, who officially became the all-time scoring leader in NHL history, breaking Wayne Gretzky's record on Sunday with 895 goals. And look, I'm obviously I don't talk a lot of hockey in this podcast. I do watch from time to time. I'm more of a casual fan at this point, and a lot of it too also the fact that you get older and you don't have much time I can't watch every sport. I can't give every sport my attention, and then when my favorite sport in the world runs literally at the same time with that sport, I'm going to pick basketball. Come on now. But doesn't mean I still keep my eye out what's going on in hockey. I'm a Rangers fan. Obviously my number one team. I do cheer for the Panthers here because the hometown team here as well. I remember being back growing up as a kid in the 90s. I was a diehard hockey guy. I was invested. I did watch a lot of games on ESPN. I did watch the Penguins back in the day, Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr and Detroit Red Wings, Steve Yzerman and whatnot. So I've seen great players in my lifetime. I caught Gretzky's tail end of his career. I caught mostly Gretzky's years with the Kings and then with the Rangers, of course. But also you do read a lot of stuff. You do watch highlights and all that, and you do talk to people who know the game, whatnot. People are asking, is Ovechkin the greatest of all time? To me, the comp for OV for me has always been LeBron James. In terms of longevity, in terms of the body, in terms of the physicality, whatnot. Like OV and LeBron James has always been the two guys that kind of work hand in hand. And I always compared Gretzky to Jordan, to Michael Jordan. People have told me that obviously with Ovechkin, he's definitely a top 5 guy. So I may say top 3. But most people will say he's not the greatest of all time. They still put Gretzky because of the overall scope what he did, not just as a scorer, but also as a passer and whatnot. They accomplished this in the same amount of games. People also say the game is actually a little bit easier to score these days than it was back then when Gretzky plays. I get all that. Same thing with LeBron and how he's compared to Jordan. He has more points than Jordan, but people still put Jordan number 1 all the time. And look, that's what obviously the experts on this. I mean, my gut tells me it's still Gretzky, but Ovi is certainly the conversation, top 3 all time, in my opinion. You score that many goals in 20 years, you have to get some respect. So I'm not going to go and disrespect a guy like that. But, yeah, he's definitely a conversation, And yeah, that's it. So I mean, congrats to Ovechkin for a job well done, breaking a record. I thought he would get it next year, but he actually got red hot toward the end of the season. I thought, I think at one point he was like maybe it was like 30 behind back in February or in January. I was like, no way, this guy can't catch this at his age. But dude, he turned on late in the year, man. So kudos to him, for a job well done breaking that record. All right, Stephen A. Smith. This dude is always in the news, man, for some reason. Whether or not it's calling out LeBron, calling out LeBron James, fighting with Jason Whitlock, this and that, talking about politics. And now we get word that there's a possibility Stephen A. Smith is considering running for president. Now, people are going to say, that's crazy. This dude's never been a politician before. And my response is, well, do you see who's in the White House right now? The guy right now in the White House is now a 2-term president. Never served a ilk. Never served a second in any form of government. As a senator, as a congressman, as, local politics. No, Donald Trump has never been, a politician until now. Okay. So as silly as that sounds about Stephen A. Smith running for president, it would not shock me. Okay. Donald Trump has changed all the norms. Whether you love the guy, hate the guy, he's changed all the norms. So if Stephen A. Smith wants to run for president, I'm all ears, bro. I don't care. Okay. To be honest, this whole thing's turned into a joke anyway. So why wouldn't? And quite frankly, I think we're in an era now where so many people are so disgusted with politicians as a whole anyway, that why wouldn't someone who's a media commentator or a real estate mogul like Donald Trump is, or someone else, or The Rock, who we've heard rumored for years about him maybe doing it, entering the space, why would that be shocking? Why would that shock anybody at this point? So do I think is it possible it happens? Can't rule it out at this point. Everything we've seen in the last 10 years, anything is possible. Do I think he'll do it? No. He just got a big contract with ESPN recently, about a couple weeks ago. Obviously, the highest paid media mogul ever in this market. I think he enjoys doing what he does. He does ESPN, First Take, and all the things there at ESPN. He also has his own media company here, Straight Shooter. He does his own podcast every other day. He enjoys doing that. I think he likes the attention he's getting for this. I think also the fact that he's polarizing in not just in sports, now it's politics as well too. Also, it's good for his brand. He's getting a little older, so like he really cares about trying to fit in. He's the big dog. He's the big dog, as he said. He's the big dog now. So there's nothing. He's I don't go so far as he's Teflon, but the dude he has reached the pinnacle of this business. No one has touched him in the pinnacle. You may love to hate the guy, but he gets all the attention. The fact that we're talking about him on this show, about the possibility of him running for president of the United States in 2028, should tell you that how powerful and how big this guy has gotten, especially in the last 15 years. So, all right, before I get out of here, like I said, I want to keep it a little shorter. My wife and I, we actually started White Lotus on HBO. I actually started White Lotus actually about a year ago. I actually watched the pilot last year, and I didn't necessarily hate it, but I didn't, it didn't grab me. So a lot of times with shows, like if I'm not in the mood to watch it, I'll put it to the side and I'll try again a second time. And that was White Lotus. But then they just completed season 3 this past weekend. Everybody's talking about it. All my friends, all my people I associate with, they all talk about the show and all, whether or not they're behind the show or not. So my wife, some of her girlfriends, they've been talking about watching the show. So she came to me, and like, I want to watch the show. And I say, you know what, babe, we'll do that, because there's so much content out there as is anyway. And her and I, we do like watching shows together, but sometimes it's hard to pick the shows we agree on to watch. So when we do actually agree on it, we actually try to stick with it. And it was a slow show to get into, but I eventually get into it, and now I'm addicted now. It's basically, you guys, I'm not gonna give any spoilers here, but it's basically the show. It's a season by season storyline. Like every season's a different storyline, different cast. It's kind of like True Detective in that way. It's basically, White Lotus is a hotel that's located in a fictional hotel, of course, located in different parts of the world. So season 1 was Hawaii, so White Lotus in Hawaii. Season 2 was White Lotus in Italy, and then apparently season 3, once I get to there, which I'm almost at season 3, I believe it's in either in Thailand or somewhere that, not Philippines. I think it's Thailand actually for season 3. White Lotus, Thailand. I love the show. I love the build. I love how thorough it is. It's satire too. Also, it makes fun of the upper class, rich, white, we want to call that. And the show's great. I thought the first couple episodes of season 1 I wouldn't like it, but then I think by 3 episodes in, I started. It hooked me. It really hooked me. So White Lotus on HBO. Obviously, I'll have to sell to you guys. You guys know that's been talking to town for the last couple of weeks now. Just again, season 3 just ended this past Sunday. I don't know what happened. I don't know who's the cast season 3, so don't tell me anything. Hopefully, my wife and I actually warned my wife today, because we have 2 episodes left of season 2, and then season 3 has 8 episodes. And I told her we have a week to get this show done, because the NBA playoffs start literally in, the play-in next week, but the NBA playoffs as a whole start literally in 10 days. And you know how I get with the NBA playoffs, especially with the first round. Every night I am married to my TV watching NBA basketball. So if you want to get the show done as soon as possible, you got to get on the ball and get this show done. Here's the problem, though. We have tomorrow night, so we'll probably put in 2 or 3 episodes tomorrow night. Friday night, her and I have a date night. We're going to MJ the Musical, the Michael Jackson musical. That's come down to Broward. It's here now, 2 nights in. We're going on Friday night. Saturday night, she's having a girls' night. So that's the only night we can do it. So that's 2 nights in a row we can do it. So that leaves Sunday, right? And then Monday night, we can get to episodes in too also. But then Tuesday and Wednesday is her nights. She works at night those nights, so I'm not going to be home with her at all. So then we have next week Thursday, and then maybe next week Friday if I don't work late. So we have a window, but I told her we have 10 days to get this shit done. And if we get it done, I'm happy, because I don't want to have this show lingering and the NBA playoffs starting. And only that, not this weekend, but the weekend after that is WrestleMania weekend. So I'm locked in that as well too, So we're going to try to get this show done by the middle of next week. Hopefully we get it done. So check it out. White Lotus on HBO. Really good show. I'm almost done season 2. And that'll do it for this little impromptu-ish podcast. Again, recorded April 9th, 2025, although it'll be dropping April 10th, 2025. I am on X, formerly known as Twitter, at EJ Christian 7. Again, I hopefully when I publish this episode, we'll have 400 plus subscribers on the Earnestly podcast on YouTube. But if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Tell a friend. Share the shows. Share an episode. We have great content coming on this feed, of course. If you got TikTok, of course, we have it on TikTok page as well too. Also at Earnestly Pod on TikTok. All clips of the show on there as well too. And until the next episode, we will talk soon and later. Have a good night.